Until quite recently, I have to confess I wasn't the world's greatest rail traveller. For me, going by train was seldom more than a narrow corridor in time, a passage of hours and nothing else. And that, I thought, was my fixed opinion on the subject. Nothing in the imagination can quite prepare you for the pure shock of India. The heat and humidity in Bombay rise with the sun and bring to their feet 6 million people drawn from all over the subcontinent. Their first ritual duty of the day is to bathe. Within the security of a luxury hotel, I do the same, plucking up courage to take a journey on which, as it turns out, I will never see another European passenger. Up to this moment, all that I know of India has been got from books, novels, A Schoolboy Life of Clive, that sort of thing. The comforts of this hotel, the sense of safety and familiarity it gives me, are the indispensables of modern Indian tourism, but they're not the real bequest of British civilization. For very close to this spot, the first spike was driven on what was to become the greatest rail system in all Asia. And for Bombay, for all India, nothing was ever the same again. It makes the city, frankly, scary. Bombay Victoria Terminus was India's first railway station on the really grand scale, and it's still the most complete expression of confidence and pride in the system. The Indian Railway is so extensive and such a huge employer of labour, 5 million people work for it, that going into a station is a little like entering a noisy and yet caring church, a church of cathedral size, big enough to stay a few days. What seemed like desperation on the streets is here rendered to order. The priests of the system are men like Mr. Anantramya, foreign visitors booking clerk.
Mr. Praram, please sit down.
Thank you. I have an India Rail pass.
Yes.
And I want to make a journey by rail.
Yes.
And I have the idea of going south.
Yes.
Do you have a railway map or anything like that?
Sure, we have one railway map of India. You can have a look at it.
Oh, yes.
You're welcome to have a look at it.
I see.
Yeah.
Can you tell me where we are? This is Bombay here.
This is Bombay here.
What are the principal routes?
Bombay, Madras.
Yes.
Direct.
I went straight to Madras. I'd go coast to coast. I don't want to do that.
I see. In that case, Bombay to Guntakal.
Where? Sorry.
Here, it's here.
Guntakal.
Guntakal.
Uh-huh.
This is one route. From there you can branch off to Bangalore.
What's the country like around there? Is it
Well,
At first it all seems very easy, his playing with names and distances. And once he's into his stride, there's no stopping the enthusiastic Mr. Anantramya. On my side, I discover what seems like a small discrepancy in the map.
But between here
yes.
and Uttakamund,
Uttakamund.
there's a gap.
There's a gap.
What happens there?
Uttakamund, well, you are having the facility of the transport by bus right from Mysore to Ooty direct.
Yes.
The distance is about 96 miles.
And there's no other way. There's no...
Absolutely, there's no other way by which you can travel by train.
I see.
Foreign visitors get preferential treatment in making their reservations, which is just as well, for although the trains run on time, the booking of seats is a lengthy and complicated business. Mr. Anantramya and I are getting warmed up. Are there any good trains from Bangalore? I ask incautiously.
Now, we have several trains from Bangalore to Mysore. 2:10 mail leaving at 6:30 a.m., arriving into Mysore 10 a.m. 2:12 Nandi Express leaving at 10:15 a.m., arriving into Mysore 13:45 p.m. Next train 206 Express 17 o'clock from Bangalore, arriving into Mysore 20 o'clock in the night. 216 Express 18:15 from Bangalore, arriving into Mysore 21:45 p.m. The last train 1068 passenger leaving from Bangalore 22:50 p.m., arriving into Mysore 5:20 a.m. Which train you wish to take, sir?
The railway bureaucracy is vast and Dickensian, and yet, while it requires patience, it likewise exhibits the same patience in its deliberations. Nobody could go anywhere in India without that. And after all, everything about the country, including its railways, is on the heroic scale. I'm asking the system to process and disgorge one tiny detail in a blizzard of information. A seat on the Madras Mail to Pune, the first leg of a journey Mr. Anantramya has assured me I'll never forget. And the system works, just as he promised it would. Rail travel in India is cheap. For a European visitor, amazingly cheap. Armed with an India Rail pass, unlimited travel for only £30, and yet still a bit hazy about where I was going, I set off with a few inward butterflies, but all of South India to aim at. I took my goodbyes where I could get them.
Morning. Do you speak English?
Oh, yes, sir.
How far are you going?
I'm going to Pune.
Pune. Are you going there on business?
Oh, I live there.
You live there, I see. We seem to be climbing. The train's climbing all the time. Is that...
Well, actually, we are leaving the coastal region now.
Oh, I see. What's this mountain called back here, then?
Well, actually, it's all the Deccan Plateau. It's just a tableland.
The Deccan Plateau. Runs right the way across, does it?
It is like a barrier all along the coast of the Western India. And the whole Deccan is a plateau, about 2,000 feet high. Actually, the seasons are funny here. We have a rainfall for 3 months.
Yes.
And all the year round there is no rain. So this is just prior to rainy season.
Yeah.
That's why you see all the dry earth and not greenery much.
See, it's very hot outside. It's all right in here with the fans and so on.
Yes, it should be about 104 or 100, somewhere in that region.
104?
I don't think anyone coming to India for the first time can quite accommodate themselves to the huge and uniform distances. The Deccan means simply the south. It's a single geological feature, that plateau, a vast table of basalt rock that teases the eye with shimmering heat haze and retreats before the train for hour after hour. Out here, a mile is as daunting to the imagination as 100 miles, and work looks graceful because all unnecessary movement has been stripped away from it. But the history of the Deccan is the uninterrupted history of hard times. The sun beats on this land like a drum, dries out your nose and lungs, empties your mouth of spit. These railway workers have a moment's respite as someone very important passes by. The line inspector in all his glory, too proud to acknowledge their salams. Pune, the first familiar place name on the journey and worth stopping off for. The temperature is indeed 104, and there's that special dry heat, the furnace heat of the plains. The city has been a garrison since the great days of the Maratha warlords, and it has the manners and confidence of an army town. Its station is a large and well-kept one, with perhaps echoes of a barracks, orderly rooms and the like. If it is so, the mess is damn quiet this morning.
You serve tea? Yes. Can I have some tea, please?
The Marathas, who made Pune their capital, were once the feared horsemen of the Deccan, whose triumph was in expelling the last of the Mughals, and who were also the last Indian tribe to take the field against the British, since when generations of soldiers have been posted here. On every railway station in India, there's a little detail of platform life that says something very telling about the importance of the railways. A letter rack. Even the smallest station has one, and it's always crammed full with letters to absent friends. Sometimes, as here, important friends, but more often not. A lost son, a father looking for work, a pilgrim. Pune rings a bell in California, for it's also the home of the Rajneesh ashram, whose adherents wear orange. There are very, very few Indians in what the bitingly satirical writer Gita Mehta calls the search for Karma Cola. Those whose hunger is religious in India are mostly Americans. The Guru's teaching is, do whatever is easy, which is interpreted in high old style and credit card confidence. I somehow managed to sleep through their daily walkabout, which you can't really. Until quite recently, I have to confess I wasn't the world's greatest rail traveller. For me, going by train was seldom more than a narrow corridor in time, a passage of hours and nothing else. And that, I thought, was my fixed opinion on the subject. Nothing in the imagination can quite prepare you for the pure shock of India. The heat and humidity in Bombay rise with the sun and bring to their feet 6 million people drawn from all over the subcontinent. Their first ritual duty of the day is to bathe. Within the security of a luxury hotel, I do the same, plucking up courage to take a journey on which, as it turns out, I will never see another European passenger. Up to this moment, all that I know of India has been got from books, novels, A Schoolboy Life of Clive, that sort of thing. The comforts of this hotel, the sense of safety and familiarity it gives me, are the indispensables of modern Indian tourism, but they're not the real bequest of British civilization. For very close to this spot, preparation of train meals there is in the hands of a very efficient concessionaire, and he needs to be good, for the food has to be cooked, served, eaten and removed like, well, greased lightning sounds like a slur on their curry, and all my travelling companions had ordered in complete confidence. But one way and another, Dound is very efficiency-minded.
I'm sorry to interrupt you once more, but there are only 4 bunks and there's 5 of us. There's no problem.
It's a real problem.
It is a problem, yes. Food? Yeah. Oh, good.
You have asked for an omelette.
An omelette, please. Yes. It'll be there, will it? I see.
It's not an omelette.
It's not an omelette. It's not an omelette. No.
It's definitely.
No, it isn't.
That must be mine.
It's yours. So
That's vegetarian. It should be
vegetarian.
Yeah.
Is that a, that one's vegetarian.
Yeah. Oh, the last one is it?
Oh, no omelette. No. No omelette. Something's gone wrong with the omelette. There's no bedding. There's no omelette. There's 5 of us in the carriage.
Damn good at it.
Okay.
Why don't we share something?
Okay, thank, that's lovely.
That's nice. Open soon.
Let's have a look. Can I have a look? What is that? What do you
This
call
is
that?
supposed to be the rice.
Yes.
This we call it as buri. And this is
Right,
curries.
Can I try a piece of that?
Please. There's a fried substance. Please try. How do you like it?
Well, it's a bit like cardboard.
Cardboard.
It's all right.
It also took the roof off my mouth, that and the curry, and sent me to bed early with another 10 hours to go before Gunta Kal.
Can I turn the light off now?
Okay, turn it off.
When my friends on the train heard I was going to get down at this station, they were greatly amused. But there's nothing there, they said, meaning no European plan accommodation. And nor is there. But what I found was better. My first real contact with the majority of all passenger traffic in India, village India. For the first time, that simple magic travellers go in search of seemed to happen. It's as rich as a novel in its 100 little incidents, Gunta Kal, an all-points meeting place, slap in the middle of central India.
Proceed to platform number 6. Passengers bound to Bangalore City via Anantapur, Dharmavaram, please proceed to platform number 6. Anantapur, Mariu Dharmavaram Yuka.
I took a shower and shaved in the first-class restroom, still only half awake. The shower had been cold, and when I asked for hot water for the shave, a rather startled attendant fetched me a galvanized bucket brim full, apparently drawn off from... but I still wasn't really listening to the noise outside, which was begging to tell me where all that hot water had come from, until I had moved into the southern railway system and steam. There are people, many hundreds of them each year, who come to India to celebrate this special magic of steam and nothing else. And you can quite see why. But Gunta Kal also runs another story alongside that innocent nostalgia. This coaling, which is being done hour after hour in heat that's like a firebox itself, is being done so that I may continue my journey refreshed and relaxed.
Morning. You're the reservation clerk. You know, I've got an India Rail pass here, and I want to go to Bangalore. Do you have a reservation for me?
Yes, what's her name?
Thompson. Oh, there I am. There I am. Can you tell me which coach it is on this?
It is in 1625C.
What's that? Is that?
Sequence. 1625. 1625 bogie number.
Bogie number 1625. Okay, thanks. Excuse me. Is this bogie 1625?
Yes, it is going to Bangalore.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
From Guntakal, the train runs due south, through little snatches of green that appear by the side of the track and then fly away in the dust. For the next 7.5 hours, at every little station oasis, we, the train and its passengers, are destined to be theatre, the event of the day.
Round number 3.
Hello? Hello?
ರೈಟ್ ನಮ್ದು ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಅಂತ ತರಂಗಿಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ ಕ್ಯಾಚ್ ಅನ್ನಲ್ಲ
ಹೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹುಡುಗರದು ಭಾಳ ಗಲಾಟಪ್ಪ ನಿನ್ನೆ
ಇದ್ದಿದೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾಮೂಲು ಅದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೆ ಗಲಾಟೆ ಹುಡುಗರು ತರಲೆ
ಮಂದಿ ಬೇರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ
ఫోటో తీస్తారు.
How much longer now?
ಓನ್ಲಿ 5 o'clock will be seen.
5 o'clock. Can I come up with you?
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And as we leave, the station reverts to what it has been all day, a tiny little village in its own right. Today there's been the Nandi Express and 3 other stopping trains, and the threat of unseasonable thunder. But first, the paperwork. Joining Chief Train Guard Abdullah as we left Yelahanka was intended only as an idle way of Until quite recently, I have to confess I wasn't the world's greatest rail traveller. For me, going by train was seldom more than a narrow corridor in time, a passage of hours and nothing else. And that, I thought, was my fixed opinion on the subject. Nothing in the imagination can quite prepare you for the pure shock of India. The heat and humidity in Bombay rise with the sun and bring to their feet 6 million people drawn from all over the subcontinent. Appear from my life like dreams. The next day, I determined to travel second class to see what that will bring.
How old is your son? How old is he?
He's the elder. The elder.
The elder?
Yes. He's the first.
Yes.
Second. Third one there.
Is a baby?
The baby.
What do you do?
I'm the actor.
Actor?
Yes.
What is-
Drama actor.
Drama actor?
Yes. Professional.
And do you do classical acting or
Classical and mythological, social.
social?
You are very well.
You've been a professional actor for how long?
Oh, 17 years old.
17 years?
Yes. When I was a child, when I was 5, 6 years old, I do the drama.
Do you like an actor's life? Is it a good life?
Now I am good life. I have satisfaction in the art.
He was going to a wedding, and the others like him were all making family journeys, maybe to some quiet village where they would be received as honoured guests, with a year of their life to recount, perhaps a great event to celebrate. Or perhaps they would walk out to fields that were theirs, or would be theirs, and discuss crops or rent, or the possibility of the coming harvest. Or perhaps, like the actor, they would feast and dance.
ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Ah, ले ज़ाप्टे, ज़ाप्टे, ज़ाप्टे. Ah, लो टिकट, ज़ाप्टे वाला ice cream. Ah, लो ice cream, ice cream.
The name of this place is called Sri Rangapatna, or City of Lord Ranganatha, which is a melancholy of the bygone glory of Hyder Ali, or tragedy of Tipu Sultan, who fought and died against the Britisher in the year 1799, 4th May at 1 p.m. This fort was built in 15th century.
Many thousands of the travelers in India each year are pilgrims, and the train to Mysore passes an island in the sacred Kovri River, which is also a famous landmark in the history of British imperialism. Temple India is the sole reason for many European visits. I flew out from London with a Dutch woman who'd done Thailand and Egypt and was now ticking off Hindu civilization. Those Vijayanagar temples are now all that's left of a mighty kingdom. Tipu Sultan, the great Muslim overlord, was himself destroyed here by the British, and in the ruins of the fort they found a 5-year-old boy whom they raised up in his place as Raja of Mysore. And this is the summer palace of his descendants, which is now, almost unbelievably, a hotel run by the Indian Tourist Development Corporation.
Fantastic.
This way, sir.
This way? Well, who sleeps here?
That's a relaxing.
Relaxing, I see. Oh, yes, this is marvelous. Marvelous. What do they call this suite?
This suite known as honeymoon suite, sir, or otherwise you can call it Viceroy suite.
I think I'd better call it Viceroy suite, yes.
So this way, sir.
All right, thank you. Is this the dressing room?
This is your dressing room, sir.
Tremendous.
And here goes your bathroom.
Bathroom, yes, well, covered in dirt and dust. I think I'd like a bath. Oh, this is terrific.
Incredibly, the whole place was mine for £10 a night, and as I had suspected, I was the only guest. In the days of the native states, Mysore was once among the largest and most magnificent. But as always happens in India, in time the history sinks back into the people's imaginations, and what's left is the bygone glory. The road to Uttakamund that Mr. Anantramya, the booking clerk, had pointed out in Bombay. And the contrast with Mysore is colossal, overpowering. 8,000 feet up above the burnt grass of the plains, Ooty was created by the British for themselves. It was hacked out from the aboriginal jungle. Everything, the landscape, the plants, the trees, the people themselves, and the ideas, were imported, carried up the mountain. And the feeling created in the end was of Sussex or Hampshire, good eggs, and altogether a damn good show.
And it's at their own magazine to retreat to when times got tough. Here's some advice to Charlotte in the Home magazine.
The magnificent Ooty Club was the centrepiece of refined life in the golden days of soldiers and planters. Colonel Willis is the last permanent resident. The game of snooker was given its rules here by army officers like the Colonel, and we arranged to play a very one-sided memorial match.
Yes. I think you might have needed to be Joe Davis to do that.
Left to you.
How long were you on the 5-div staff then?
2.5 years.
Yes.
And then I went to 4th Corps as DDS&T 4th Corps.
Did you miss regimental soldiering? I mean...
well, I think one misses the men, you know.
Yes.
Nothing like the command of a regiment.
Oh!
That's right. Well, I'm sorry about that, Brian.
No, that's right.
Right? I'm afraid you're up against the cushion there.
And has it been pleasant, the time here?
Oh, very. Oh, yes. We've got lots of servants, you know. That's rather unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate. I'll give him 4 then.
Now, what's next? Brown?
Brown, yes.
Now, I think this is a rather difficult one.
What do you feel about India after all these years, then?
Well, mixed.
Good shot.
Mixed feelings.
Yes.
A lot of good, and I'm afraid a lot, I think, has changed.
Yes.
I wouldn't say for the better.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate.
Oh, it's not a very good...
Yes. Oh!
How long did you work at the club?
About 15 years, sir.
Yes. In the great days?
Yes, sir. That's a very fine day, sir. We used to have 2 times a dance in Ooty Club, and Wednesday night supper and dance, the lounge shoots, and Saturday night we used to have a dinner close with the
full black tie and so.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And midnight supper, we used to have a sausage and mash, all these things.
Sausage and mash?
Yes, yes.
And what was the favourite drink, do you think? The most popular drink?
Mostly Scotch, sir. Scotch and cognac brandy. And we used to have champagnes and wines.
Can I have a gin and ginger beer then, please?
Yes, sir. Certainly, sir. Which gin you prefer, sir? Blue Ribbon or Boots?
No, that looks good. Is that English gin?
No, Indian gin, but it's English collaboration.
Oh, I see. And these sausage and mash suppers, do you remember those well?
Yes, yes, sir. Midnight supper.
Yes. Think your children know what sausage and mash is?
No, sir. They don't know, sir.
But does that make you sad?
Which one? Yes, yes, sir. Definitely.
It was a tremendous and touching achievement to have created all this from nothing. By a casual stroke of history, both the church and this hotel were built from beams torn from Tipu's palace on the faraway Kovri River. But the smaller elegances of the hill stations are the ones that stick in your mind. The flowers, the bungalows of the decent types and stout fellows, whose history is in their modest lifestyle and in what seems nowadays a wry, rather self-effacing public life. For Ooty, as Colonel Willis implied, has changed. It'll never revert to jungle, for the servants and bearers of the British have long ago found themselves another niche. But from a hill station, it's become only a town at the top of a mountain. For sentimentalists, there's just one star attraction remaining. They come from all over the world to see this train run. I was told that, had I been a week earlier, I could have met some really knowledgeable spotters from Derby who didn't just hang their heads out the window. Every nut and bolt of this loco has its own poet. It's reckoned to be a wonder, the Nilgiri Express. The line took 17 years to construct and put the first company to try it into the bankruptcy courts. At first, it seems just like Toy Town, not a real train at all. But then at Coonaw, the engine engages a rack and goes onto air compression brakes. For in the next few miles, the gradient's 1 in 12 as the train plunges back into the valley floor.
Come on, hold on, up to there anymore.
At the bottom of the mountain is the meter gauge terminus of Mettupalayam. The Nilgiris, I began to realize, had been more than one kind of watershed on my journey. Now, the only way forward was south, and there were no more souvenirs or gentle remembrances. South India, this far south, is a place unto itself. Walking in the streets, waiting for the night train, the journey began to take on a more definite shape, and I started to think at long last of a destination. Something happened here in Mettupalayam. I don't mean of a large kind, but something unlocked, and what would be my remembrance of India began to swing open, like a door to a picture gallery. There is, after all, a time in every travel when you're forced to say what it means. And it happened to me, unromantically, outside a cafe. I suddenly grasped something about this most baffling of countries, but there were exact words for it I couldn't yet find. That's good. That's good. Kafka once wrote, "Because of impatience, we were driven out of Eden, and because of impatience, we cannot return." I decided on the spur of the moment to end my journey at Cochin. It was an 8-hour journey and the end of a week's travels. I'd come through 4 states and as many language areas to reach the port of Cochin, which is also the capital of Kerala, India's first communist state. To a European visitor, India is a country rich in contradictions, which are all the more poignant for being apparently unobserved by its own population. Cochin, as it turned out, was exactly the place to give me a sense of destination, a feeling of having completed something, an emphatic full stop. If ever there was a country in which the common people determine your view of it, India must be that country.
That side.
Yes. When we get across.
Oh, very near.
Yeah, sure.
You know the ferry jetty there.
Yeah.
Okay, where you come from?
From England.
Oh, from England. You tourist?
Yes, a tourist. Made a long, long journey. And now, I think I want to stay here.
Around all the India. All place.
All places,
You been to Bombay?
Yes, I've been to Bombay.
Oh, it's a very nice place, huh?
It's not as nice as this. The final place, was a village of Cochin called Kumbalengi. You really should go there sometime.